Hi, I'm David Davis from ActualTech Media. I'm excited to be here at Big Switch headquarters, and I'm joined by Mr. Gregg Holzrichter. He is the CMO at Big Switch. How you doing, Greg?
Doing great, Dave.
Thanks for being on. So, I wanted to talk to you first about something really new, something exciting that you all are doing at Big Switch headquarters, and that's your integration with Nutanix. Can you tell me, how does Big Switch integrate with Nutanix AHV?
Sure. Yeah, we're really excited about the hyperconverged use case. It's a really nice place for organizations to try new approaches to networking. Often you have an application sort of at the edge of your production network, and you may have a small hyperconverged cluster and you're looking to grow that, but one of the gotchas with expanding and scaling your hyperconverged cluster is performance with your network. And so one of the things that we've seen is this is a great use case to complement hyperconverged with a next generation approach to networking. So Big Switch, plugs directly into Prism. We support AHV, and we take care of all of the physical networking in your hyperconverged cluster, and we automate all of the provisioning on a per VM basis in your Nutanix scale-out cluster. So we think it's a really nice complementary story where Nutanix is delivering software-defined servers and storage, and now we're actually complementing that with the networking piece.
Interesting, yeah. So as a Nutanix cluster grows, the number of nodes grows, the network, I know, can get very chatty, lots of traffic going on. You have all the data replications between the different nodes being sent across the network. The network is the critical piece for that cluster to function. And so as you massively grow the number of nodes, the network can start to degrade. So once you implement Big Switch in that picture, how did things kind of change?
Yeah, it's interesting. Over the years, as hyperconverged clusters and deployments have grown, 3 years ago we would see 3, 4, 6 nodes. There's a critical point where you get to about 8 nodes, and then networking really comes into play. And so one of the things that networking and Big Switch in particular does is we allow you to actually add capacity in a very easy way. One of the things that we pride ourselves in is the automation that we bring, sort of the day 2 operation of your network. And so you can just rack a new Nutanix cluster. Our fabric automatically auto-discovers that rack. You don't need to bring the networking team in.
Okay.
And then it automatically kind of provisions networking resources on a per VM basis. So it really is the simple, sort of the easy button of networking for these Nutanix clusters, especially as you scale out. And you can actually deploy our software. Big Switch is a software-only company, but our software runs on industry standard and cheaper bright box and white box switches. Okay. So top of rack switches, high density spine switches, and an SDN controller. Those components in your data center with our software running on top gives you this complete automation and end-to-end fabric management that plugs directly into your Prism environment. So your vAdmin, who is actually instantiating a VM, provisioning your storage, no longer has to set up a network ticket with the networking team. They can push that VM live directly into your network, and that's done through role-based access control. So the networking team can speak with the server team, and it really is kind of networking at the speed of virtualization, is what we call it.
Okay.
It kind of delivers that promise of software definition and agility across all the components, server, storage, and network.
Nice. So with Big Switch in the picture, can that help the workload performance? Can it actually increase performance for the applications running on this Nutanix cluster?
It gives you really good insight into how much network throughput you have. Mm-hmm. We actually, because we're able to be deployed on a variety of different types of networking, you can deploy on 1 gig, 10 gig, 40, 100. Some of our carrier customers are now talking about 400 gig.
400 gig. Wow.
So, scale is not the problem. As you scale out your Nutanix cluster, we can actually scale with you.
Okay. And the whole point of hyperconvergence is to maximize your density with your infrastructure to get the most out of it. Can this also help with workload density? Can I increase the density of the workload because I have better network performance and less latency?
Yeah, it allows you to do that, and it also, again, gives you that built-in analytics to understand when you're coming up to thresholds,
Yeah.
and then you can actually just add capacity. And so that is the ability to give you visibility and built-in analytics so that you can sort of do your network capacity planning in a really kind of thoughtful way.
And because you integrate with Nutanix Prism, is that where I'm able to get that visibility?
That's right. It's built completely directly in, and we have this ability built into the Big Switch controller. It's a graphical user interface that has these beautiful charts and kind of drillable dashboards that's really different than what you usually see in traditional networking. So, a lot of the traditional networking vendors talk about the CLI, and you have, very highly skilled CCIEs that are, messing around with the command line interface.
Right.
What we allow you to do is actually see we provide this very intuitive visibility where, to the point where you see actually all the components in your network, the top of rack switches, the spine switches, your controller, pictorially depicted. And so if there's an issue with one of your VMs, you can see maybe a flashing red light that says, hey, this port's misconfigured or this switch is down, as opposed to having a networking person have to walk up and down the halls of your data center hunting and pecking and kind of looking at on a per switch basis through a CLI to do troubleshooting. It's basically the concept of how the hyperconverged players, the hyperscaler players like Facebook and Google have instrumented their networks, and we've taken the page from those guys, built it into enterprise software, and made it available for companies of any size.
And this has really been a missing piece in most hyperconverged infrastructures. I mean, you converge the compute, you converge the storage, but what about the network? And this can really complete that vision.
We believe that it's actually one of the critical missing pieces, and it's become really relevant because, as I mentioned, more of these scale-out clusters are getting beyond 8 nodes. And so as you get to 8 to 15 to 20, networking becomes a real critical factor, and that's why I think we're getting this market pull, and it's a great partnership that's blooming with Nutanix.
Very cool. Well, I'm going to have to get a demo of this myself. Sounds very cool. Thanks for your time today, Greg.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
David.